Surf Splendor.
First of all, give me the lay of land for Hawaii. How's that swell panning out? And when did you arrive and what's going on?
Ooh, I arrived on Friday morning and got here at like 10 in the morning or something. And yeah, right off the plane, like it was actually pretty good. I never really like surf Piper backdoor, but I saw one small, like good backdoor wave and I thought I'm out there and I just grabbed a board I left over here. It was like a 5-1. Then I got out and then I noticed like John, Koa Rothman, and all these guys are sitting kind of at the top of the apex. And I start ball around and these guys, I start seeing these like sets coming through, and I'm like, oh fuck, it's like actually like semi proper out here. Fuck, I don't even think I should be out here, but it was so fucking rad to watch them out from out there. And I didn't really get much, just a couple poundings or two, and then paddled over to Parker it off the wall and got my ticket in. I'm scared of this place, especially, well, in general, but pipe and backdoor, but especially when there's a rising swell. There's been so many times I've seen it like go from looking super fun to like super deadly.
Yeah.
And I know my place, and when it gets big like that, I belong on the beach, film networking with the filmers or whatnot. So, yeah.
Did you say 5-1?
Yeah, I left a board here that like I'd surf VLAN or some of that shit on, and I was just skitzing out off the plane. So I just grabbed. I didn't even realize till I got out there that I was on a 5-1. I'm like, oh no, this is what's 5-1 and a rising swell out there with those guys out there, and that shit seeing some like proper waves come in. I'm like, I need to
Yeah.
I need to get my ticket in. But it was
So,
fucking really cool to watch this guy. I watched like a 4-wave set. I think like John got one, Koa Rothman got one, Balaram got one, and then Makana Payne got one. And I was like, fuck, just watching those guys, from there, that was fucking so sick off the plane.
yeah, totally. So what was the plan? Obviously you're working on a film project, but you're not shooting any of the footage yourself? What was the
No,
plan to come over to Hawaii and
I filmed like almost 100%. I'd say 90% of Snap 1. I filmed probably about 70% of Snap 2. Then I had like a 15-year hiatus where I left making the Snap movies because Pat Tenore he approached me about him starting Ruka and wanting me to help him start the surf program. So that's how I stopped doing the Snap movies originally back. I think this was like 2002 or 2003. So I left that and went over and teamed up with Pat. And yeah, so that's why there's that like 15-year hiatus before I jumped back in 2016 and started making Snap 3. And then
gotcha.
now once I started making Snap 3, like guys started having their own filmers, equipment had come up. I mean, originally when I made Snap 1 and 2, everything was on like tapes.
Yeah.
And so the whole game had changed on so many levels, and it was on the verge of changing even more to where I filmed some clips in Snap 3, but throughout the making of it, I realized like Mason works with Roy Pringle and Jack has like I was in West Oz with Tom Jennings and everyone had their filmers, so I think I just kind of stepped into more like just focusing on the directing, producing, and networking and all those other aspects. So that's kind of, and then now Snap 4. I mean, and then Snap 4. Yeah, I don't think I filmed one wave in that aside from like the Salmon Boy clips and the lifestyle shit. And then yeah, on this one, same thing. Now I strictly just focus on working with the filmers, and
Gotcha.
they're all so good. And I work just as close with the filmers as I do the surfers because without the filmers, it doesn't even matter. So
So
yeah,
with the trip like this, is there a reason for you to be on the land, or are you more just, or a reason for
yeah,
you to be on Hawaii, or are you just more coming just to be moral support and participate in it all?
yeah. Well, I mean, I think when I'm here and well, like, there's a lot of guys in the movie that aren't from Hawaii that are over here right now, like Harry Bryan, Ian Crane, and Tara Watanabe, and then Mason's here, Parker Coffin's here. There's quite a few guys in the movie. So it's good because get everyone together and everyone's watching each other's clips and getting a little preview of what everyone's sitting on, and that builds the enthusiasm and the morale. And when
Yeah.
it's a friendly competition thing. When these guys see the other guys' clips, all it
Yep.
does is fire them up to go get even more nut stuff. And then on top of it, really, aside from that, is to link up with the filmers over here. The Eric Ipples, and I mean, there's just the list is endless. I'm in touch with these guys all year long, less in the summertime or whatever, but it's good. I link up with them. We go over clips, kind of see where we're at, which ones I'm looking into. I mean, right now, kind of the theory for Snapt 5 is like nines and tens, as far as like if it's not a 9 and 10 or 9 or 10 on like the scale, then I don't want it in the movie. So we're being like hyper critical on this one. Because if the movie's filled with 9 and 10s, then I feel like it puts me in a good position, puts the movie in a good position to hopefully be in that 9 or 10 range. So
Yeah.
that's kind of the mentality that I'm running with on this one.
I have a lot more questions about that and the film itself, but we'll come back to it.
Okay.
With this swell in Hawaii, how's obviously we saw a couple of injuries actually. How's Mason doing? I know you were staying with Mason, right?
Yeah, well, I'm staying all over the place, but
Okay.
yeah, that's one of my HQs there for sure. The whole compound. But Mason's pretty banged up, actually. Like, I mean, he's in good spirits and stuff, but what happened to him? I don't. He said that's never happened to him. He's never hit like face first. The way that he hit, his face is pretty swollen. I mean, he's a savage. So I think it's like a fighter in the UFC after getting fucking taking some big shots. His headspace is still like where he's just fucking psyching for the next fucking swell and an opportunity to get back out there because this forecast is like it's got to be one of the best forecasts, long range forecasts. It's already been pumping for fucking almost a week, and there's like
Mm.
a week plus more. So I think his whole thing is just to do whatever he can and hope he heals up fast to get back out there. But I mean, yeah, when I saw him yesterday, it was pretty heavy how like swollen his face was, and you could tell he hit real hard, and I felt like there probably had to have been some type of concussion,
Yeah.
to an extent. And I think his back hurts, his shoulder hurts, and uh, so yeah, I think I call him the quarterback, but I think he's on the sidelines on injured reserve for at least a few days. And I think if it doesn't heal up soon, he'll probably come over to California and work with Mark Azuki and kind of try to expedite the process and get and Pat Tenore's got like the hyperbaric chambers and all that stuff. So like he's kind of told me like tell Mason give him reins to come use the red machine, the hyperbaric chamber and all that stuff because apparently that stuff really helps speed up the healing process these days. So
What do you know what exactly happened and have you seen the clip?
yeah, I saw the clip. It's crazy because you're gonna see all these waves from Mason and like he's sitting out in the back, kind of holding throne. I mean, it's kind of his family's kingdom, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think he's getting a lot of really good waves. And for some reason, he kind of went on this like side, like this wave kind of off to the side, like almost not even where he normally takes off. It was closer towards like the sandbar. And it wasn't like a special wave. That's kind of like in surfing, those freak accidents, like the crazy ones that you think someone's going to hurt themselves on and they somehow just don't. Like this one wasn't. It like just swung wide and went towards the beach park um, and he just got kind of caught on the foam ball and or like got past it, and then like right as I think he like kind of either slowed down or told me he ejected, you could see the thing boxed out super hard and must have gone really really shallow. And as much as like I was thinking, you're pretty much like it's sand over there. You never know with any of these spots. There's like it seems like there's reef that pops up out of nowhere that you wouldn't expect. And yeah, he got fucking hit hard.
So
Got
he was it off of his like initial ejection off the board, or was it like getting sucked over the falls
no, no,
and then
just
slammed?
off the ejection.
Just like the bottom opened up and there was reef
Yeah,
super
yeah, you can
shallow.
see too because it like kind of went like tightened up, and then when he ejected or whatever, you could see it boxed out super hard. And then usually when it boxes out super hard means it's gotten real shallow right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the
And he
wave
went
itself
face,
was,
he hit face first.
yeah. He's face first, it sounds like definitely like hit his shoulder and his back too. So he might have hit face first and then kind of rolled.
Yeah.
Exactly. I was trying not to like go into depth with him too much because I feel like that shit's kind of like it kind of fucks with their head, and like I don't think they want to relive it too much. At least not like the day after when when it's that fresh.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, but
Brutal.
but he's gnarly. He'll bounce back. But to me, what's crazy is you see all the ways that Mason's gotten over the years and his approach out there, and like I thought for sure this has probably happened to him at least 10 times. So to hear that that's the first time that's ever happened to him
Yeah.
is gnarly. So
It's
I
crazy.
think that part too might be a little like rattling to him because I don't think he's never kind of taken a hit like that out there.
Dude, he looks indestructible. When you
Yeah,
watch all the footage, I mean, he's known for just the rock thing. That's his synonymous with him. So,
totally, totally. So yeah, it was crazy. And him and Parker were talking that morning, and for some reason Parker is just and Parker charges out here, and Parker was telling him, "Fuck, I just got a weird feeling this morning about getting hurt." Mason was like trying to like, like, "Hey, let's just go." Parker wasn't scared. He just said just his instinct, like, because Parker has been hurt. I mean, he almost lost his eye at big soup bowls 2 years ago filming for the movie, and I think now, like when he's got some weird feeling, he just decides to listen to his gut. So he told
yeah.
Mason, "Nah, I'm gonna pass this morning." And then sure enough, Mace goes out, and next thing you know, Parker's like taking him from the lifeguard tower and all that to his house, and brought him back here because I'm at Parker's right now. And I think he brought him back here, got him some ibuprofen, and kind of just let him hang here for a bit before driving him home, and then from there, his fiance Ari took him to Kahuku to get stitches. So he got a couple stitches. But
Okay.
I think for sure it could have been way worse. I mean, you look at what
Yeah.
happened to Emio, and these other guys, and yeah, I think could have been better, could have
Yeah.
been worse too. So
Well, good reminder for everybody how serious the situation is because you do see people make harrowing, wipeouts and then they just pop right up and paddle back out. So it's a good reminder that it is deadly serious.
yeah, even when it's small, I mean,
I
that's
know.
like even the days that I try to go out there when it's small, like it's so shallow at back door, and like I remember one day I was gonna go surf there, and I just was like, oh, the beach park looks super fun. Then I'm walking back after surfing, and there's an ambulance, and it was Doug Silva who rips and is gnarly nose to web, and like they had him like on the beach, and he hurt himself, and yeah, it's just like fuck. I don't know. That wave is is different even when it's small. I think like you just can't ever take that place lightly.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Well, we'll get back into playing more surf talk, but
yeah,
the
yeah.
reason I reached out to you right now rather than around the film release or anything like that is because of this article that just came out on Stab explaining the situation that you went through, having your home ransacked and robbed, and then your quest to find justice. It's a incredible story and turn of events. Um, I think we should probably start by saying anybody who's parked at the beach is kind of aware that there are criminals, trying to just, I don't know, they see an opportunity. You stash your key and your things might get stolen from your vehicle. And so we've all had some awareness of that. And turns out that those rings have gotten a lot more sophisticated and the criminals have gotten more sophisticated. So can you kind of explain what happened to you and give us the full rundown?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, because I don't want to overplay it, right? And I don't want to promote other professional hackers to take this approach and target us surfers. But I think from what I've gathered, and I invested a lot of time into like these guys or what happened, and working with the detectives and everybody is like, this is a one-off crime ring, like that
Oh,
these
really?
guys, yeah, this that what's been going on in Southern California is one crime ring. Because look, surfers get their shit robbed all the fucking time. They get their wallet stolen, and or their cars get broken into all the time. That's standard. That happens all over the world. But what went on here is the 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 head of the whole like crime ring is like a extremely sophisticated, top of the line professional hacker to where like he could get into your phone faster than the government can get into your phone, in a sense of like like the police, or even they're claiming like the FBI, as far as so that's their strength. That's what like allowed them to operate and be as successful as they did. Sure, these guys are good at breaking into cars, and so are a lot of people. But it's when they get into your car, when they get their hands on your phone and your wallet. The wallet's one thing, but when they get your phone into this one guy's hand, the top guy, he's able to somehow, they like still can't figure out, because it's something that they have a hard time doing.
Hmm.
He's able to get into every single thing in your phone, including, which is the most important, your online banking. So, um, you know how it is with iPhones. Usually there's like the facial recognition and there's the code, or both, or whatever, right? So like
Yeah.
just the fact he can get into your phone, that's one thing. But the fact that from there he's able to somehow figure out what your username and password is to all your apps and online banking and shit is another. So for instance, if I have one for my bank, and he's able to get into that, and then he's able to get into my American Express app, which has a completely different username and a different password. It just goes to show like he's unstoppable once he gets
Yeah.
into your phone, and and he operates quick. And so it's a team. They eye you out, and then there's several of them, and as soon as they kind of watch where you hide your keys, they have someone else watch, make sure you're either already in the water or further enough down the beach, and then they like green light it, tell them to go for it, grab the keys. They get in the keys, they get in your car, they ransack through your car, they get you. There's two things they're really after. They don't steal like everything in your car and shit like that. Like they take your phone and your wallet, and if they have your phone and your wallet, that's when they're able to fucking go to town. And with my story, which was different, and like one thing to clarify, like too, as I tell the story, is like, and it was a rough one. Like I think it mentioned the thing. Like so, my mom, I just like watched my mom die for like 18 months from Parkinson's and dementia, and I was getting ready to head to the crematorium to go pay for her funeral and have her body cremated and all that stuff, which obviously is tough. But I thought, as a surfer, it's for me, especially with all my stuff, like surfing is my therapy. So I thought I'd just go get a 20-minute therapy session and surf out at River Jetties, which is where I grew up. Um, and uh, I hide the keys. I hide the keys on the side of my house, like or like around on my house property. Um, and I found a spot on the street. I have like a garage parking spot I could have found, but when you find a spot in the street, it's just easy. You just whip in and take that, and speed up the process. So once I put on my wetsuit, I grab my keys, and then and like keys kind of have a big chain, and you can see them like it's pretty clear, when they're dangling from your hand, and they're like it's this long, they could see the keys like dangling from my hand. So I walk in the side of my gate, surfboard in hand, wetsuit, and then I go in for 2 minutes. I hide it in its spot, and then I come back out the gate with no key. So whoever's watching me sees that obviously I went and put my keys somewhere in there. I go out for 20 minutes, maybe caught three waves that could have been a foot or 2 feet at best, real shitty river jetties as normal. And I come in and I see kind of like the side yards, like kind of in disarray where the trash cans and everything are moved and something looks off.
Mm.
And I didn't just put it like on, like I put it in a room that was on the property, um, that was downstairs. And then I go in that room and I see my keys are gone. And then I instantly start thinking like, okay, shit's off. The trash cans are moved. The keys are gone. I'm like, fuck, like someone got me. So I go to the car, and obviously, and that's another thing, they lock you out because that buys them more time.
Yeah.
Uh, so I'm fucking sitting there at the house. I mean, sitting at my house. The car is right out front, and I'm locked out. And a buddy of mine, Dustin Hine, a good friend of mine that I grew up with, he pulls up to surf, and I tell him like, "Hey, I need your fucking car. Like, park here at my house, but I'm gonna bolt up to my house where I lived at the time, and get my spare key." So luckily he pulled up because that kind of helped speed up the process of me like getting to a phone and like trying to like get down to figure out, obviously in the top of my head I'm thinking canceling credit cards, the bank, all that stuff. Because I'm thinking credit cards, shit's in my wallet, not
Yeah.
anything to do with my phone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then when I got there, I grabbed my daughter's phone and I started making calls. And I called like our property manager because we rent that beach house out a lot, and there's surveillance. So I said like, hey, can you look up the camera from this time to this time? I need surveillance, and then I drove back to the beach to get into my car, and from there I noticed they don't take anything. The only thing that's missing are my phone and my wallet. And From there, then I get a ring, and I get photos of the surveillance, and then I have the surveillance of the guy, and I can tell. So I text my phone, and I say like, hey, uh, whoever has this phone, I know you stole it. I have the surveillance. All I want is my phone back. Like fuck, we can do this between us, whatever, and let's 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 try to figure this out. Because I mean, I don't know about you these days, but like everything, especially for the movie, like I've got so much content, lifestyle stuff, and just like just the making of the movie, behind the scenes, and all that stuff. I've just got so much stuff on my phone. Um, so like, and then then you have your apps and your online banking, just everything, and then like with your credit cards and ATM cards, everything's on auto pay, and shit's just a nightmare when you're gonna have to start back at square A. So I tried to like take the higher road, and then I got a text back instantly, and he said, "Hey, I'm sorry, I'm a drug addict, and fuck, I'm trying to get into rehab, some shit. I'll give you back your stuff for $1,000. Meet me at Jack in the Box at this time." And then I said like, all right, well here, I'm just letting you know I got three angles of you, three different surveillance cameras, and so like we can identify who you are or whatever. And I'm trying to like, I don't know if we're gonna be able to identify who they are or who the guy is at the time, but I just sent it to him to be like, hey, let's just square up. You want $1,000? No worries. I want my phone and wallet, and fuck, we can go on our way. So he's like, I promise, let's meet here at this time, Jack in the Box, whatever. Let's say it's 11 o'clock. Well, like at 10:45, I get a text saying, hey, I need to meet at 1 o'clock at Dairy Queen. And at that point I'm thinking, fuck, things are weird, and
Mm-hmm.
so then I wait, and I said, all right, but like this is it. If not, like fuck, I have no choice. But obviously, I'm gonna fucking go take all this the surveillance and shit. I'm gonna take it to the police. So fucking yeah, he said I promise I'll meet you there or whatever. And it sounded pretty sketchy. And I saw photos of the guy. I mean, the video of the guy, and like look, I'm fucking 5'4", 125 pounds. I don't, I'm not a fighter, nothing like that. So it's kind of intimidating to go meet up with this dude. He looked like easily 250 plus, and yeah, he looked. I'm not gonna lie, he looked pretty scary. And I'm over here on the North Shore, and I see a lot of pretty heavy guys over here, so I'm kind of used to it. But like this guy looked like kind of fucking, looked kind of gangster, and it's just not like someone I wanted to go meet up with by myself. Um, but he just said like, if you have the police there, this and that, anything looks weird, I'm not going to meet you. And he like played it really good. But nevertheless, I was like, fuck, I'm not just going to go to this place by myself, because then who knows, even now, then if they want to try to rob me even more, or whatever the deal is. And like the other thing at the same time, now they have like my ID, which has my address. They have everything of mine. So I called Pat Tenore, who's one of my best friends. He's my kid's godfather, and at Tenore or back in the day at Ruka, like there's always some heavy hitters at the gym, and just gnarly guys. So I called him from my daughter's phone, which he didn't have, and like fuck, there's no way. If anyone knows, it's hard to get a hold of Pat in general, and randomly like he answers the call, not even knowing who's calling him, which was kind of grateful. I said, "Hey, I just got robbed. I got to go to Dairy Queen. This guy's trying to like meet me there and shit." And he's like, yeah, "Don't worry, I'm gonna send fucking 4 guys. Tell me the deal." So when I went to Dairy Queen, like I knew there was four of these guys, pretty gnarly guys from Tenore that were there. That I think were ready for whatever was going to happen, and they were sitting at a table, just like pretending to eat. And I was obviously super stoked just for a friend to do that on the fly.
Yeah.
As busy as Pat is and all that, like, that meant a lot to me, as far as like, well, that's the fucking loyal friend. So I go there, I sit there, and then the guy's saying 10 minutes and whatnot, and then 10 minutes, and then I'm just like, fuck, this guy's eating the clock. There's something, fuck, this guy's aren't coming. Like, the guy's not coming. So I instantly just fucking get in my car and I beeline to the bank. And then as soon as I get to the bank, they start looking shit up, and then it's just like, long story short, $150,000 has been fucking like been used in ATM cards, and one of the weird ones was that like I had a $30,000 debt at Amex, because fuck, making surf movies is fucking, it can be expensive and shit. So I throw a lot of shit on the credit card while you're making the movie. When the sponsors come in and the money comes back in, I get to offset it. But they paid off the Amex through my online banking, so they could use the Amex at the stores. And the stores are like in Beverly Hills on like Rodeo Drive, at like the Gucci's, Armani's, Chanel. Chanel was like a big one that they hit, and yeah, they fucking swooped 150K, and a little portion of it was from out of my mom's account, because her account was attached to mine because I was power of attorney, because she was so sick and she was dying. I was the one like making the calls on all her financial stuff, and she didn't have a bunch. Majority of it was mine, but still, just the fact that they had stolen from her too, and she had just
Yeah.
passed 72 hours before that. I was fucking pissed. Not just for myself and how fucked I was going to be at that point. I didn't even realize like all my bank accounts had to be frozen. No ATM cards, no credit cards, nothing. For the next 2 months, I would have to go into the bank and pull out cash to pay for anything and everything, utility bills, fucking, I mean, you name it, cell phone, but everything. And then two, I no showed my mom's the meeting I had with the crematorium,
Oh,
and now
jeez.
her body's sitting up there, in the morgue, and I don't have the money to like continue the process to try to put her at peace and that stuff. So like I'm dealing with a lot of shit. And at that point, I think I just kind of went into like, I don't fucking care what it takes. I'm gonna fucking bust. I want to bust these guys, you know. And then end up at the police station and had to file the report. And luckily, the detective got put on the case as a kid I went to high school with,
No
and
way.
he surfed and whatnot. And so that was kind of the first kind of blessing because I think he took the case a little bit more like to heart because
Yeah.
we're friends. And from there, I asked him, like, he said, "Fuck this has been happening a lot," and he kind of knew who they were without knowing exactly their names and stuff and their background. And then I just said, "Hey, like, I'm gonna post this shit. This is probably the only way to fucking like get the ball rolling on catching these guys." And had some people tell me like, "Don't post it. It's not worth it. Just accept your losses and all that shit." I'm like, "Fuck that. Like." I'm not just gonna sit back and just fucking have all my shit robbed and have all this stuff going on. And as you said, I'm dealing with a lot of stuff, but I only know how to channel my energy into certain things, you know. And at that point, it was just like I'm gonna channel it into fucking catching these motherfuckers. And so I did a post, and it just it started fucking getting traction, and I wouldn't say going viral because it's not for like a good reason, you know. But
Yeah.
people started reposting it. Stab was cool enough to do a feature on it, kind of thing, like an article on it, and people started spreading the word. I this is kind of a weird like side story, but like I was trying to like get a hold of the media outlets because like um, the detective had told me that a lot of surfers have been getting robbed like this, not robbed like their car stolen, but like hacked into their phone and shit. Because I had people going, no, there's no way, like, there's no way they got into your phone. It's impossible. There's no way they got into your online bank. It's impossible. And I said, like, I know, I don't understand, but I'm not like making this shit up. Fucking
Yeah.
like, this is the deal. So once I put it online, it was crazy how fast things started rolling, and other people are like, "Hey, this happened to me. Hey, like this happened to me. Hey, like these are the guys from up in Topanga and Malibu because these guys originally started up in the LA County, hitting those spots: Zuma, Malibu, Topanga Canyon, and I think they got rolled up there multiple times, and I know they got kind of chased out by like I think some of the locals up there, because you know, like Malibu, those guys hang in the parking lot all day, you
Yeah.
know, at a lot of those spots. So, so that eventually they migrated down south to Orange County, and Huntington and Newport became like their new hotspot. Um, so at that point, um, I had a buddy of mine. I probably won't say his name because I don't know what he did, if he was supposed to do it or not. But he had access to facial recognition, and
Oh,
and um, and he just did a favor. He's a sheriff, and he like caught on real quick who these guys were. And then next thing you know, like the local like media in online in Newport Costa Mesa, they started like posting it on their Facebook and all this stuff. And then the mayor in Newport reached out to me, and like people started really getting behind it. And the next thing you know, this police officer from Costa Mesa said, "The fuck, I arrested this guy a couple months ago. I know exactly who it is." Then I took her information. I got her in touch with the detective in Newport, who was on the case now. And then I got him in touch with the sheriff who did the facial recognition. And then like everything started snowballing. And then before you knew it, we knew exactly who they were. And from there, it was like the head guy, I think, was already looking at like 30 years federally. He's got so many charges. He's a high end, like, you know, a scammer, whatever, as far as
hacker. Yeah.
hacker, you know. And
Yeah.
so then from there, like, it was kind of in the police hand. And then for me, I'm dealing with now too the bank. as far as like trying to get my money back and trying to get everything back on track. Um, and then like Tyler Gunter, Instagram, he's like, fuck, this happened to me. These guys sold all my stocks. They got into his phone. They fucking like transferred his stocks and sold them all. He never got anything back. He got robbed in Huntington, and he didn't get, I think, a lot of support or help from the police there. Um, and then like Tara Watanabe got fucking, he got hit by them. I'm pretty sure Reef McIntosh got hit. Dale Rose from Caton, he got hit twice by them. 60
Crazy.
grand. They got into his Tesla without his keys. That's how like high up this guy is on the hacking scale, you know? He's almost like the Kelly Slater of hackers. Fucking, he's like the goat. But so all the stories started coming in, and then like the detective from Newport, luckily my friend, he was in touch with all these different departments. The Malibu sheriff, LAPD, Beverly PD, and then he really went to town, and then they started getting a hold of the stores to get surveillance of the guys in the stores, because they had the exact timing of when the cards are getting charged, and you can see like on the video the guys on the phone. Because remember, anytime any of these weird like, dude, I don't have any jewelry. I don't wear any fancy watches. I don't own anything really fancy. There's surfboards and free gear from the companies that sent it to me is all I need. Pretty simple stuff. So like, I don't know if that's why, but obviously like when all these like $20,000 charges at Chanel are going down, instantly they're getting fraud alert. But they have my phone. So every time they send a text through, you know how it works these days where it says like, hey, we're suspecting fraud. Is this you or not? They would just respond yes, and they would able to keep going and keep going. One thing with American Express is after one charge, they just shut the card down on their own. A side note is like at certain banks, if you're like a premier customer or whatever you want to call it, some of them there's no limit on a daily spending. So that was another thing I learned as far as like, fuck any bank account that I have, I need to set a day limit because I spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
So I was learning a lot of stuff too, and I was in the bank every day, um, having to grab cash first of all to pay for whatever, and then two, working with them on my case because every charge is a different case. That's what makes
Yeah.
it more convoluted and makes it a lot more challenging as far as like, it's not like, hey, there's one case for 150. It's every charge is a different case. And then luckily I have a super cool banker, and he, same thing. Like I think he really wanted to see me get my money back, and I know he felt super bad for me dealing with the fact that, man, again, for days my mom's body's still up at the morgue, not being able to get cremated. I could have borrowed money for sure, right? But like I just had so much shit going on with everything. I think it took like about a week before I eventually just I got the money to get that handled. But nevertheless, it was just this ongoing thing working with the police. He's getting leads. They were like slowly getting more and more info. They knew exactly who was at the top of the crime ring, and the guy is actually the guy that went on the side of my property and broke into the side of my house and got the keys and all that we had surveillance of. That guy had 3 felonies and a homicide case, and
Yikes.
they just let these guys out, all of them, not probation, bond. Like, I mean, it's crazy. Like that's the most. That's kind of one of the most fucked up parts for me. Where like when, look, I don't want to get into politics and shit, but when you see like how some of these guys just continue to get let out on bail over and over and be put on probation. So they thought that the guy's probation check-in and a lot of the charges and everything were up in LA, where they're obviously way, way more lenient up in LA, because I think there's so much crime up there. And they he was like set for a probation check-in. So they thought, and he had been going. So they thought they were ready to go pick him off that day of his next probation thing. But he no showed because I'm pretty sure he knew at that point I had surveillance of him. I'm not sure if they saw anything online in the media of like what Stab did or all the other shit. But so he no showed. And then from there, it was just kind of this really slow process of the detective was just chipping away. And he was like, I want all of them, but I want the top guy. Because with the top guy, they needed a little bit more evidence to really concrete their case to put this guy away for 30 years. And again, these other guys, they'd be like standard fucking thieves. It's when they steal the shit and they give it to this guy. He's an Egyptian guy, by the way. So this Egyptian fucking pro fucking goat hacker. um, he's the one that they really wanted, and he's apparently like high up on a list. And again, it's not with him, which obviously felt relieving. It's like his criminal activity was not violent activity.
Right.
Not maybe hit the guys that worked underneath him, but him himself. His was all online, like fucking, online hacking and phone hacking, stuff like that. So his weren't like violent criminal stuff. So I didn't feel as, I don't know, I'd say intimidated or whatever to fucking go after him. And even at that point, I was still so pissed off. I didn't really fucking care, you know?
Yeah.
It was just kind of fucking, it was just kind of game on. And I don't know. I felt like the only way I was going to feel better is when I caught these fucking guys. And two, at the same time, days after, I'm getting photos and DMs because I put all this stuff on Snapt, Instagram as well. And all these surfers were sending me photos of these guys. Hey, they're down here at 32nd Street. Like they weren't stopping. Like,
Oh my gosh.
and people were on them. Like as far as like, I think that was one good thing is we like I felt like we started to build awareness, and what I was gonna say on a side note was that I was reaching out to all the media outlets because I wanted them to like bring awareness to what's going on,
Yeah.
especially in Orange County. I think they had stopped doing in LA County, but just in general. Um, and like I know Surfline had reached out. I don't know who was running their Instagram or whatever, and I said like, "Hey, can you guys help me spread the word on this? Not necessarily to get my money back, but to help prevent this from happening to all these guys,
Yeah.
all these surfers." And I think some of them didn't want to touch it, maybe because they're thinking, they could be a gang or this or that. And so I will say, like, I was really grateful for like Stab, the fact that they wanted to punch it and they wanted to cover it and wanted to get the word out there because all that stuff helped. But
Yeah.
yeah, it was kind of interesting to me. I thought Surfline would be one of the first to be like, who wouldn't want to catch these guys? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, they kind of went silent on helping, get the story out there, and
So
helping create awareness. That was kind of the goal. Is like I just didn't want this to happen to anybody else, because I knew firsthand like how fucked up is this now. Like not only do I don't have cards and I can't pay my utilities without going to a store and paying cash in person and starting all brand new bank accounts and just everything. So like to me, a lot of stuff just got frozen. My main priority at that point in time was to fucking catch these guys. So spent a lot of time working with the police, trying to give them whatever info I was getting because people were sending me photos and video and all this stuff, and then I would loft it off to the detective, and he's like, "Fuck, hey, if the movie thing doesn't work out, if you ever want to come work for me or whatever, fucking."
that's
I
amazing.
think he'd be pretty good at this. And then the bank, and I was bringing all the info from the police to the bank while I'm fighting these cases to get my money back. And they're like, "Fuck, you should be a detective." I'm like, "Oh, fuck that! I just want to catch these fucking guys and get my money back and have them stop doing this to surfers." Because if you think about it, it's really, really like it's really strategic what they have set up. It's like they're shooting fish in a barrel.
Totally.
Surfers hide their keys, and surfers go out on the water. I surf not I don't do marathon surf. Sometimes it's 20 minutes, but I mean they're gone from their car for usually, you know, let's just say a half an hour or whatever to a couple hours. And then, you know, by the
Yeah.
time they get back and they're locked out, they have no access to even try to retrieve anything or like get a hold of the bank and stuff. So I think we're like the perfect target for this type of, you know, robbery. So
So how long was it from when you got robbed until there were arrests made?
4.5 months.
Crazy.
Yeah, and they just kept getting closer and closer and hotter, and like it was just snowballing, you know. And the crazy thing is, they kept their hot spot, like their honey hole, was my street, like was the river jetties. There's a dead end at the end, and they kept hitting there. The police actually put up, well, they dropped off flyers on every doorstep saying like about the there's like high alert robbery right now, and whatever, with your keys and your wallet and your phone and that stuff. So they like they were putting some like effort into it. They also put, you know, those machines where it says like 25 miles an hour, slow down, this and that, like those
Yeah.
type of. They put one of those, and on there it said like high, um, like theft, whatever. Be careful with your, you know, locking your cars and, you know, your, whatever. Like they had a thing set up there for 3 months on my street, right when you turned on to from Orange Street on the PC or to Seashore, um, and but these guys just kept hitting that zone, and
Brazen.
yeah, and that's why the detectives were tripping. Like, wow, they really like are honing down on the river jetties for some reason. They'd hit other spots because I got things of them at like down at 32nd Street or whatnot. But yeah, so eventually, long story. Well, that's already a long story, but to get right down to it is, a resident on the street had been hearing about all this shit going on. He's seeing surfers come back to their cars in disarray, fucking rattled, you know, because I'm sure a lot of them go to the residents and say, "Can I borrow your phone? Can I make a call?" Um, so he went himself and put surveillance cameras all up and down the street, and that's what led to catching these guys.
Okay.
Is that they had visual of them getting into the cars. They also had the visual of their driver of their cars they were driving into, out to, all that stuff. They had everything. And you know, these days, when once the police get the drivers, the license plates, they put it in the system, and each stoplight can literally can send them a notification that the car is just, you know, past this light,
Yep.
heading this way. And when he turned in the surveillance and they got the license plates of, there's multiple cars, I'd say within 48 hours, 72 hours, they had rolled, I believe, what's 10 of them, including the head guy. And in cars, they had tons of IDs, tons of credit cards, cash, cell phones, you name it. Even some weird, he said there's some weird plug-in stuff they had for what they think the hacker used to get into the phones.
Fascinating. Yeah, because ideally for that the hacker in an ideal scenario would not have to be there physically. Like if he just operated remotely and let those thugs do the dirty work. But in this scenario, he needs the phone physically.
And
So
he's
he's
there.
going to always be nearby.
He's there. So he's on the street, and as soon as they grab the phone, he's parked, well, let's just say 10 cars away or whatever it is in that radius, and they hand the phone off to him, and then boom, they send them with the wallet to the shopping mall.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Wild. Okay. So where does the case stand now?
Um, well, all the guys, especially the higher ups, I mean, I'm pretty sure they're gonna like. I can only, they'll only tell me so much because it's still in process, right? But what I do know is there's no probation, there's no bail. They're not letting
Good.
them. So that part's huge because that's been part of the problem. Because what they think is this guy's already facing 30 years, and they just didn't have like the real concrete evidence they think they needed to really like get him,
Yeah.
and this is what they needed. So they think he was trying to do one last strong push, to load up and fucking probably bail the country. So that's why I think they were going so hard, uh, like kind of through that 4 month period. And now, like with him, that's the case where he's not out on. He doesn't have. They blocked any way for him to get probation or bail.
I
Um,
wonder, do you have any indication of how much money they've
okay,
stolen?
so, yeah. So here's like a good. Sorry, Harry and all those guys are skitzing out. Looks like the waves are still pumping. I know. I heard. I got a call from a private detective that American Express hired. He's a former police officer, and he handles like high end cases with like big money that's being stolen, whatever. So that he got put on this case through American Express, and he was actually super helpful. I ended up putting him in touch with the detective. It ended up being like a really big, like cohesive, like teamwork fucking thing as far as all these guys like kind of getting all their information from different stuff. And he told me that the day that they robbed me, they robbed three other surfers in Huntington. And that day alone, just off American Express, not the bank cards, not anything else, just off American Express, they pulled $250,000 that day alone. So that detective was also so he they were a high priority for American Express. Just because you can imagine $250,000 in one day.
Yeah.
If they just did that for half of the week, they're
Yeah.
pulling $1 million.
Those guys are so greedy. They could have gotten away with this if they would have just stopped at some point. Like
Yeah,
collect your millions, beat it, and live, the rest of your life off of those
yeah. Go back to Egypt. I don't think they'll extradite you. I mean, I
yeah.
don't know. I don't want to sound racist either, but fuck. I mean, at the end of the day, they could have left and gone to multiple places and just called it a day. But like,
The
obviously,
the
they
greed is
hands.
unbelievable. Like that when is enough enough?
Yeah, I mean, I mean, money can be evil, so
Yeah.
it can be like a drug for people, and they just want more and more, and
Yeah.
yeah, so
So
it's crazy.
so that's them, but were you able to get your money back
Okay, so the first they declined the first case, and we disputed it, and then from there I went to fucking town. I got the video of them at the fucking malls. Same, it's one of the same guys that's fucking broken into my house. Same dude. 2 hours later, I got the synopsis or whatever you call it, because the police report. I had the police report, but not the in depth like investigation part. But I had the detective wrote like an a very in detail thing of what happened, and I loaded up on extra evidence from additional surveillance of them at the malls, to the surveillance I had, to all the extra paperwork from the detective, and I submitted that um, to fight the case as far as getting my money back. And then at that point, I gave him so much fucking hard concrete on like this was not me, uh, that it took about 3.5 months or something. But after 3.5 months, I got everything back.
so it was American Express and probably a couple different banks.
No, one bank,
Okay.
but from the bank, and then the last dispute was the thing between Amex and the bank, because they paid off Amex from my bank account, and Amex was saying, "But no, this is money that came from his account." But then the bank said, "No, this wasn't him that paid it off."
Right.
Look, right. 10 minutes later, they bought $22,000 purchase at Chanel.
Yeah.
That's like I think one of their big things is these like really expensive purses and stuff. Once they buy those, I mean, then they can sell them online for fun. I mean,
Right.
I can't even believe that purses cost more than cars these days. It's fucking
Yeah.
blows my fucking
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
So that was the last one, and then at the end of the day, uh, the bank ended up taking the hit on it,
Okay.
and, and so I got that money back, and then I was 30 grand back in the hole with Amex, but I was fine with that.
Yeah. Um, and so Who gave them the moniker Bentley driving bandits?
That was in LA, Malibu.
Okay.
Yeah, I have no clue that was when they were up there, and from what I gather, they've been doing it up there for like 2 years before. So these guys been on a rampage the whole time. See, I got lucky because I wouldn't say I got lucky. I'll take that back. But in a sense, I did get lucky because if they hadn't gone onto my property, I would have never got the surveillance. When a lot of these guys are getting fucking robbed or their car broken into, there's not surveillance on the street.
Yeah.
So no one's really had surveillance of who it is, the facial recognition, because like it was like one lead led to the other, and the fact that we had video of him and then we're able to use the video for facial recognition and then to put that online for people to identify, like, wait, I arrested this guy back in March or whatever, because
Yeah.
this was in August. So that was like the big breakthrough, and that's kind of where the guy, I think he fucked up, because like going onto a house, also too, you face heavier charges when you go onto someone's property and you steal shit. It's not just like uh, car car burglary, or
Yeah.
so that was just like a blessing in disguise, not necessary, not for me per se, but for the case and to catch these guys and just have them stop doing it. Because dude, believe me, I wanted my money back. I fucking wanted revenge. I wanted to see these guys fucking pay, but at the same time, I wanted to see them stop fucking robbing the surf community. you
Yeah.
know and especially when I'm hearing like Instagram, like he didn't get anything back. A lot of these guys, they didn't get anything back because I don't know if pretty fucking relentless. Like when I'm pissed or like when I want to, like accomplish something or have something done. So I'm gonna spend extra time. Like I get consumed by things, the
Yeah.
movie or whatever it is I'm doing. So I was pretty hell bent. Where with them, I think they just kept running into red tape and just getting shut down, and eventually they got to kind of move on with their life. So like
Exactly.
Tyler Gunther, like he didn't get anything back. Um, and I think and Taro, I didn't get anything back, and I don't know about Dale Rhodes. I'm not sure if he got his 60K back or whatever. Um,
Crazy.
some police departments too, with how much they have played, or based on like where they are, uh, they take certain cases more serious than others.
Yeah.
And in LA, it's just another day in LA. Like, okay, wow, some surfers got robbed. Who cares? But in Newport, Costa Mesa, like, I think they take that a little bit more serious because it's a pretty good population of surfers that
Yeah.
are part of the community. So um, yeah,
Well, I know you don't need it, but you deserve a round of applause for the work put into this for the betterment of mankind.
yeah, betterment of the surf community. Yeah, I mean, I think
Totally.
it's everyone can feel, at least down in Orange County, feel a little bit safer.
Well,
Knowing guys are locked up. I mean, the thing is, like I said, the lower guys, even the guy that robbed me and had the 3 felonies and homicide, that's one thing. It was the head guy. Without the hacker, they would never do the damage that they do.
well,
So
look, that the thug that robbed you, he's replaceable. Like the hacker, if that guy
totally,
goes away, the hacker just replaces him with another thug, and there's
yeah,
endless thugs. It's the
yeah.
hacker that you need to get rid
It's
of.
getting the top of the vertical,
Yeah.
you know, because without him, the operation what wouldn't be what it was, So that was like why even the detectives like, I want these other guys, but I fucking want this guy.
I think I when I started out asking you about this, I was saying like, look, anybody who's parked at the beach anywhere probably in the world just assumes a certain amount of risk by doing it, but I've always accepted the risk because they were never really going to get that much. It's kind
No,
of like, oh, what are they going to do? Steal something out of my car? They're probably not even going to steal my car, whatever, I'll risk it. But with this story, it's like they're taking your entire life.
yeah. Oh no, they could, like, within a 20-minute surf, they could clear out your whole life savings.
Yeah. Yeah, it's insane.
So it's fucking crazy. And then there's identity theft that they can use. One police officer told me, like, hey, be careful, just a heads up, have some other identification on you and your police report, because apparently he's saying these guys are so good they can They can take your driver's license and they can remove your photo and put their photo in there.
Diabolical, dude.
And I was just like, "Fuck, are you kidding me?" Like now
Diabolical.
I gotta worry about these guys going and doing something and then fucking giving them my ID, and then I've got a case on me. I got a
Yeah.
charge on me for something that they did. Like, and
Yeah.
that never happened, but still, nevertheless, it was it's stressful.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I presume you have a new uh, process for surfing and hiding a key.
Yeah, now I go into my house.
Okay.
Like I don't hide it in some side spot, down the. And then now I go in my house, and now too, to be honest, like I I never really surf aside from going on surf trips or whatnot. I never really surf anywhere besides for river jetties, just because I have my parking spot, my hot shower, or whatever. And but now, like if there is a certain swell and it's breaking on the other side of town, I'm like super fucking hesitant about like I don't hide my keys anymore. As far
Yeah.
as uh, but another thing too that I learned a lot at the bank as far as like if you have a savings account, you connect that from your online banking. Then that way, if someone does hack into your online banking, they don't have access to your savings account. So they can only fuck with whatever's accessible on those online bank accounts. So that's one is
Great
disconnect.
advice.
Okay, so disconnect your savings account or any account you have with a good amount of money, so it's non-accessible unless you personally go in the bank with your identification. So it's safe. The next thing is you make sure with your bank that every ATM card you have has a daily limit on it, because I found out I had no clue that I'll just say it like with Chase. Um, I had no clue that you could have endless,
I
uh,
didn't either.
no cap on what you could spend if you were a premier banker.
Yeah.
So then, like now, I have a daily limit on every ATM card I have. My savings account's disconnected from my online banking.
Yeah.
If I ever need to do something that seems uh, not substantial, but more than the day thing, I got to go into the bank personally to get it done, and I'm fine with that. So there are little things that I learned, and that like I think other people could want to modify their setup with their bank, because it is like it is like a precautionary way to avoid if you were to ever get your phone stolen and it got in the hands of a hacker.
Yeah. Well, the other advice that I would give is in terms of stashing a key. A couple of years ago, a listener reached out to me from South Africa and he told me that he uses this thing called a FID lock.
Uh
It's
huh.
FIDLOCK, or maybe
Yeah.
just LOC, FIDLOC. And I found one on Amazon, but it's basically this like hermetically sealed bag that you put your key fob in and wear as a necklace in the water under your wetsuit.
Wow.
So your key is on you at all times. You're not
Yeah.
leaving it in the car because other people put, like the little lockbox on their car or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've heard they've been able to get into those things easily.
Totally.
Buddy was telling me the other day I don't know if they fucking sawed the thing off or however they got in, but they got in. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think someone's gonna come up with a really cool fucking some more options to hide your key in a
Well,
safer way. Like I said, the one you're talking about sounds insane. So
so it's sealed with magnets. You put it in this little bag that's waterproof, and then it has like double seals of magnets. So it's totally safe. And then it's on a necklace, and I just throw it around my back. So it's kind of sitting between my shoulder blades. So it's
yep,
not uncomfortable at all. If you were
yeah,
wearing it in your chest, you'd be laying on it all the time. But it's on my back, no problem. It's zero discomfort. Like you don't even notice it's there. And then your
yeah.
key's safe with you at all
DM it,
times.
DM it to me. Well, I'll plug that thing on Snapt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throw it
And
on
the
Instagram.
company,
'Cause it's just good to like obviously if we can help anyone, if we can prevent anyone from getting robbed, even not hacked but just robbed, then it's a win.
fanduel.com/surf. When the games tip off, the NBA action is just beginning on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because FanDuel is your home for NBA live betting and the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So even if you miss the first few minutes of the game or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can make your picks from the first whistle until the final buzzer. Plus, you can even combine your bets into a same game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join. New FanDuel customers get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit fanduel.com/surf to join today. That's fanduel.com/surf for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 and older and present in DC. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Call 1-888-789-7777 in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.
All right.
Let's kind of go back to the beginning. I know you grew up in Newport. What was your introduction to surfing and also surf films?
Well, yeah, I don't know. I just to me, even before I surfing always seemed so cool growing up in Newport. Like all the brands are down there. You've seen all the kids in like elementary school. I went to Newport Elementary, it was right on the beach, and few of the kids that went to school, their dads worked for Quicksilver, and everyone was wearing Quicksilver. It was just like it was the cool thing, you know. And obviously, what kid doesn't want to be cool? So I would like wear all the surf shit, and I wasn't surfing, but I was always intrigued by it. I had photos on my walls, but I was always like I was actually like scared of the ocean. Um,
Really?
yeah, I mean to an extent, like I could swim and you know that stuff, but yeah, I just was scared, and I'm not, no one in my family surfs, so I didn't have anyone to ever take me surfing. Kind of had a weird childhood thing stuff, but yeah, like the surfing was never anything that part of my family or whatever. So, I'd spend like a couple months every year in Hawaii. Never surfed.
What was your parents doing in Newport and Hawaii if they weren't surfing?
My family had business out in Hawaii,
Okay.
so in town though. So I'd be in Waikiki every summer, and it's kind of a funny story, but like, so I'd wear the surf stuff and I would try to like kind of play the role, but I didn't surf. And then I remember like wanting to hang out with this, like, I thought this one girl was super cute, and was like trying to pretend like I'm a surfer or whatever. Cause I think it's because I have older sisters, and my older sisters, like when they would come, they're like older than me, but like they'd have like Love Hodel, and these guys would be like taking them out to like go party and hang and stuff. So, like actually the first time I surfed, Love Hodel pushed me in like to my first wave. I think I was like 9 or 10, and at that point in my head I'm like, oh, I stood up on a wave, I'm a surfer, you know, like whatever. So anyways, I trying to like hang out with this girl. I'm really young too. I think I'm like 12 or 10 or whatever, but I have a crush on this girl, and my dad's friends with her dad and their family, and we're all sitting there one day, and my dad just straight out tells me like, hey, you know, Logan doesn't surf, and just like just cooks me in front of him and shit. And at that point I was just like, fuck, I gotta learn to surf if I'm gonna fucking play this role or whatever. It's, you know, it's like poser, you know, like
Yeah.
oh hell. And then I'm back in elementary school. I remember too, like a kid told my sister like, oh, your brother's a kook, he doesn't even surf. And at that point I was like, fuck, I'm gonna learn to surf, you know. And I was late, I think, and then I was like 13, almost going into junior high, getting ready to be 14, and um parents got divorced, pretty ugly shit, and we moved. There's like six of us. We moved into this really small house right by the frog house, and yeah, things on the family front weren't good at the time, and um, some of the kids that lived in the neighborhood that the like this kid's Joseph Hubner. He does the Don't Care. I don't know if you've seen that before, but his
Yeah.
mom's she's been working at the Frog House for 20 plus years fixing all the wetsuits. She's the only one that does like wetsuit repairs. So like everyone in town knows like the Frog House is, kind of the spot to get your wetsuit repaired. Not to mention then too, so there's a lot of cool stuff going on at that time, and I started hanging out with them, and I started surfing and getting hazed, and I like wanted a job there to like kind of just be in and feel like a part of something. Like I think at most point, like at that point, I think that's when kids would want to be like in a gang, and
Mm.
feel like they're
Yeah.
a part of something because they're kind of like in a broken home and shit's not good there and whatever. So um, that was kind of how it started. Is like I got a job, and it was working in the parking lot at the Frog House on the weekends, making sure cars didn't park there to go surf and then sweep the parking lot, which is pointless to sweep a parking lot that's by the beach. It's just more of a hazing thing, that TK gave me. But they gave me that window. I mean, they gave me that opportunity, and um, within a year, I ended up becoming the team manager because around the corner, Richard Wolcott was living there, and Froghouse was Vulcan's first ever account.
Okay.
So you know how it is where they sponsor a shop grom.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I ended up being that grom. I could barely stand up, but I worked at the shop. I had a mouth on me, and so I ended up becoming a part of Volcom like really early in the company phase, and then eventually like the divorce thing kind of like got figured out, and we got to like move into a bigger like nicer house that was close, like not on the beach but one street off, same house that I got my shit stolen at, um, and like Vulcan kind of had figured it out as those guys were partying pretty hard at the time, and like they had a reputation for that. So when they picked up Groms, uh, they knew they could house them at my house. So my house started kind of becoming like the Grom headquarters for the Vulcan team riders, and everyone would come through Newport, so they'd be coming through a lot, and that's how I met Bruce and Andy Irons and those guys. And then the Hobgoods would be coming into town. I started meeting all these guys like within a year of surfing. And I knew at that point I was never going to be a pro surfer. I was still trying to figure out how to stand up, uh, you know? So, but I knew I wanted to be a part of this in some way, shape, or form, And then at 16, I got my driver's license. And then they started hooking me up with a deal where I would do airport runs. So then I was starting to pick up like them. I'd pick up Ozzy Wright, his first time in America. And then I was just starting to meet more people. And then guys that weren't riding for Volcom, everyone wanted to stay at my house because I had a single dad and no parental guidance, right by the beach. And then I had four sisters. And if four sisters have like two or three of their girlfriends out, um, there's a lot of girls at the house. So you got this house with no parental guidance by the beach and tons of girls hanging out. So it just became this like hub for everyone to want to come when they came into town to come hang at the house. And I think people were already started partying then and whatnot. But yeah, it was just a free for all. Like it was kind of a really good setup to like build your Rolodex and meet all these guys. And all these guys coming through are they're the best surfers from their region or their country. So like I was surrounded by so many guys that had big futures in surfing, and I just kind of got a niche for like I wasn't competing with them, so I was never a
Right.
threat to them. That's why I think was always close with Andy or in anyone because I wasn't ever gonna have a heat with Andy, not in the NSSA or anything. I surfed one NSSA, and my first heat I had Bobby Martinez and Peter Labrador, which is James Labrador's nephew, and I just sat out the back and fucking watched. I'll never forget it. Um, so yeah, I knew early on this is what I'm gonna do, and like I said, the talent that I was surrounded by, and it just kept growing, and more people were staying at my house where there wasn't a spot on the floor during the U.S. Open or other times, and my house was open too, like no parental guidance. So like I would come home from school, and there'd be times where like Andy would be in my living room, because back then like there wasn't these team managers that like picked you up at the airport and had you dialed. I mean, for Bruce was dialed because he was the like face of Volcom at
Yeah.
14 years old, the highest paid. So like they had him on the red carpet as far as treatment. But like for Andy, he would just be like kind of on, riding Bruce's coattails as far as like getting taken care of. So um, uh, I would come back, and the boys would just show up, and they know that my house was open, you know. And that was kind of how I became, friends with a lot of these guys and met them. And I got to a point after high school where I went up and like thought I was going to go to college in Santa Barbara, but fuck, I've never been good at school. So I just ended up surfing all winter, like pretending, like telling my dad I was going to school. And then after winter, I drove home and just told him the truth that fucking I never went to school and whatnot. He said, I don't fucking care. You just better get a job, And then within a week, I ended up getting hired to be the like American team manager for SMP. Remember that
Yeah,
brand?
of
But
course.
they were Australian based though. At the time, they got bought, and they were Australian based, and they were big in Australia. So the first thing they did was sent me to Australia. So within a week, the Newcastle QS, and they wanted me to learn from the guy over there, Shane Moran, and so first time ever going to Oz. It's Newcastle event. I see Asher Pacey surf for the first time. He's riding for SMP, and I'm like, who the fuck is this kid? I can't believe no one's ever heard of him. Because at that point, I'd been around, you know, the Hoggins and the Irons, and a lot of really gnarly guys in the states. McCullough Jones, Jason Bogle, and so for me, I already knew at that point like what good surfing was, and I couldn't believe how good Asher surfed. And this is back then. Asher's doing QS events, riding thrusters,
Hmm.
like air guy, whatever. So I was tripping on him. Then I ended up meeting Taj. I watched Mick Fanning surf for the first time and was like, "Holy shit, this guy's gonna be a fucking problem for Andy and whoever," because like he just had that speed and sharpness, and just you could just tell the guy was going to be a world champ. And I ended up watching how him and Andy had a quarterfinal heat, and he beat Andy, sat on him, which I was like, well, fuck, you don't usually sit on Andy like that. Andy was pissed, and and that was like my introduction. And I came home, and I'm like, hey, this Asher Pacey kid's the most like the best unknown fucking up and coming surfer in Australia for sure. Like, and then I said, this Mick Fanning kid is gonna fucking be a world champ. And it was such an eye opening trip. And again, then it expanded. Now I just had enough friends from Hawaii that would come in, and the friends from the East Coast. But now I, met all these guys in Australia, and 9/11 had hit around that time, and the SMP went out of business. And that's when I sat around and thought, like, what the fuck am I gonna do? Like, as far as how do I kind of capitalize, you know what I mean, as far as my position of being friends with these guys who I really like was confident were gonna take over the game. As far as like, few of these guys were gonna win world titles. Some of them were had the potential to be names in surfing that people didn't know of, like Asher Pacey, you know. And I was down in Costa Rica, and I was with Aaron Cormican, and in like one session, I saw him do like five fucking crazy airs or whatever were considered clips. And at that point, I was like, fuck, I can't believe no one's filming him. And that's when I came up with like, I'm gonna fucking try and like do what Taylor Steele did. I'm gonna film my friends. I'm gonna make a movie with these guys. And I went and bought a fucking camera. It was a GL1, and I learned how to put in autofocus. And the worst filmer of all time. I was so bad, but these guys were surfing so fucking good, and I knew where to be, and I knew where they were going. I mean, I wasn't, like I said, that's the time, that's the era of Jack McCoy and Taylor Steele and Matty Jai and like, like surf films at that point were, I think, at a pinnacle. So there was no pressure under me. And to me, Snap 1 and Snap 2 were like some indie underground movies. I didn't get to take Bruce and Andy or any of these guys on a trip to the Mentalities, like, but I got to know where they were going. And for instance, like when I knew they were on a boat trip, I'd hand off a camera to one of the guys on the trip, like a little handy cam,
Okay.
and just be like, hey, whatever you can fucking get or poach, you know. And just kind of tried to become savvy with that. And when they would come into town, I'd take them surfing, or I knew what time they were going to go to Lowers for the day or whatever, and just grinded it out. And I knew a lot of the time too, like uh, I would film during contests because, to me, there's like this thing about like if there's a jersey on, you can't use it in a surf movie. But to me, I didn't fucking care. I'd try to go where there's glare so you could see the jersey less. Especially like when I went to J Bay, like I'd go down the beach and film from an angle to where like there was glare, intentional glare, so you couldn't see they were wearing a jersey.
That's
But I
so
had, to just,
funny.
I had to just do what I had to do to get the clip. And again, like my footage, like my filming is the worst. Like it's like the horizon's off, the camera's shaky, the panning's horrible. It's going in autofocus, out of focus, whatever. But fuck, it was like kind of raw, and it was the surfing that made up for my shitty filming.
So did Snapped One, was it a financial success?
Yeah, yeah. We sold a lot of movies. Sold a lot of DVDs from around the world. I had a distributor in Australia that hit me up that sold a shitload of movies, and then in Japan and some of those other places. I mean, surfing wasn't where it's at now, where like there's wave pools in Israel and Germany and all these places. But yeah, like we had good international distribution. It was enough to want to make a second movie
And
because I
enough
think,
for you to have, like, your dad said you need a job. So
yeah,
that qualifies as a job at
yeah. I
that
mean,
point.
well, like for instance, and that's where I've always been kind of lucky, right? Like with Snap One, I had Vitamin Water come on as
That's right.
as a sponsor,
And
and
Volcom, I remember.
Volcom, and like I made a media kit, and we were able to raise good money, and a lot of it was non-endemic. Like to have Glacial, like the owners of Vitamin Water, come in, like there's a clip of Andy in the Red Bull house drinking vitamin water, and it was like, how pumped they were that like we're at the Red Bull house and I'm dropping off crates of vitamin water, and vitamin water was kind of blowing up at the time. So getting the support from like that gave me a little bit of credibility and a little bit of something like, well, fucking, they got vitamin water sponsoring Snap. How the fuck is this working out?
So how did that work out? How'd you make that connection?
A buddy of mine was a rep,
Okay.
and pitched the thing, and it wasn't like I was looking for like, some crazy six-figure deal, but it was enough back then to like fucking cover expenses and put some money in the pocket. And then at the same time, I was dropping off crates of vitamin water at all the houses, the Volcom house, the Red Bull house, this and that. And yeah, it was good. So like I've always been lucky to network, and kind of what I always say is I always, for because that's kind of the key with funding Snap, is I fish in a different pond. Like with Snap 4, the headline sponsor was NC Soft, which is the creators of Guitar Hero. They had a new video game coming out, and they wanted to push it through the movie. What they really wanted was a party, an activation party, and that's where my buddy Brad Smith, um, who is like one of the bigger event concert producers, he gets put on retainer by these Samsung and these companies like NC Soft. Hey, what's the best party? What's the next big event we should be a part of or sponsor? And so he said, look, I have this one. It'll be the biggest party of the US Open, and you'll be a sponsor for the movie. And fucking he got me six figures. And we closed the deal a day before like COVID hit and things went on lockdown. And
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so like, it's kind of, it's not very like, it's unorthodox to have a
Yeah.
fucking video game come in and sponsor a surf movie. But they're
Yeah.
the ones that have the money. And
Exactly. Yeah.
when we asked for a figure, that was in the six-figure range, like they don't flinch at that stuff. They sponsor events that are fucking millions of dollars for one night.
Yeah.
and we under promise and over delivered and did a lot of cool shit for them. We helped like triple their Instagram following by doing this thing where it was like, hey, follow their Instagram, which was Fuser Game, and do this and that, and we're gonna pick one person to come surf the pool with everybody in Snapt out at Waco. And it kind of went loony because it was during COVID. A lot of people are sitting at home, and a lot of surfers would be stoked to come out and to spend a day with everybody filming.
Amazing.
That was never part of the deliverables for them. That was just stuff I was trying to do because I don't know, when you over deliver for corporations like that, they don't forget it, and they're pretty much signed up for the next movie
Right.
or the event.
Yeah.
So,
So, just to go back a little bit, was meaning to ask you, where did the name Snapt come from?
I mean, to be totally honest, like Snap, like a turn, right? But like, I used to smoke a lot of weed, and Snapped was like a bong hit.
Yeah.
we fi- so we were all smoking a lot of weed, so I figured, it had dual meanings.
Yeah.
One was like kind of one was surfing related, and the other one was related to us getting stoned, fucking. So that was kind
Well,
of how and it just sounded sick, or like hey, he freaked out on us, he snapped, like
right.
I don't know, it felt kind of fucking raw.
Um, it's cool that it's stuck, like it's continued as a brand rather than changing the name of the second film or the third
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
It's great to
yeah.
see it continue on.
Yeah, which I love. It's like with Herbie Fletcher, to me, like when I was talking with Taylor Steele, and Taylor Steele had so much good things to say about Herbie Fletcher and Wave Warriors, but I always thought that was rad, like Herbie Fletcher's, an icon, and Wave Warriors are so sick, and it was rad how he had like Wave Warriors 1, 2, 3, and whatnot.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
um,
Well, let's get back to the business. Obviously, with one, two, and maybe even three, you come up with a budget, you create a unit, which is a DVD, and then you sell those for $30 to recoup the investment and hopefully make a profit. What does the model look like now?
well, that was for 1 and 2. So that was
Just one and
2001,
two. Okay.
2002. Then I left to go work and help Pat start Ruka. And then along the way, I ended up, meeting Mickey Avalon and that whole story about how like we kind of built his music up in the surf world, and then I decided like let's start having Mickey Avalon concerts during world tour events, and it ended up becoming extremely lucrative. Like where like we would go tour in Australia because he ended up having a big following over there, and I was producing the events, like where I would put them on. I would do the venue and ticket sales and everything, and he would have a flat rate. And in Australia at the time, the Aussie dollar was more than the U.S. dollar, like by a lot, and tickets over there are more expensive for entertainment than they are here. So Mickey Avalon tickets were $50 Australian, which I think at the time would be like $70, $80 US. And we were getting 1,000-person venues. And the way the venues work over there is the venue gives you venue, you get the door, they get the bar tab. So 1,000 people, let's say $80 US a ticket, 50 Aussie. You're walking away. There's 80K that night. If Mickey's got a 20K guarantee, that's still 60K a night, right? There's other expenses. So let's just say at the
Yeah.
worst, I could be walking away with 30K a night. And we doing that Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, one weekend. The first one would be at Snapper during the CT. That would be the big kickoff. Then we'd go to Sydney. Then you go to Melbourne. Then the next weekend you go to Perth and the other stops, Adelaide or whatever. So like, I was making more money in 2 weeks than I would be all year working for any surf brand. I'd make more money that night at the thing or that weekend than whoever won that CT at Snapper. Things were going good, but the environment too, the drugs and that stuff. And like I said, I'll be transparent. I've been transparent about this the whole time. Is like that was at the same time when I got hooked on opiates, OxyContin. Along with a lot of our friends, some that aren't here, and some that had gotten over it. So it was weird because I brought up earlier with the whole theft thing about how like money's evil. It can be evil if you are greedy or whatnot. Um, so did that. Fucking got into that, which is also like great. Now I know how to work with venues and produce big concerts or parties, which are great for now. Like when I do these premieres and tours and whatnot. But So I did that for a while. Then I got strung out on OxyContin, and my life went down the drain. And then eventually, um, after multiple rehab stints, I fucking failure at the program and all that stuff. Remember, I didn't do, like my only problem was it takes me a fucking hour to finish a beer, or you got to pay me $20. I'm not a big drinker. Um, and weed never had a negative impact on me. It never hindered my life or like sent it down the drain. But the OxyContin shit, synthetic heroin, it just destroyed me. I mean, at one point I weighed 97 pounds.
Wow.
Uh, and looked like I was like in Auschwitz or some shit. It's crazy, or dying. And but I eventually I was just failing at rehabs and everything. And TK from the Frog House, he told me, and he was fucking giving me a real hard time where he didn't want me in the shop really. And I just was like so embarrassed and like such a letdown to people because I felt like I was successful at one point and respected and doing good, and then all of a sudden like I'm this junkie, and just it was just a really dark time. And he like gave me some pretty simple advice. He said, you need to fucking just take this fucking bad habit, this bad addiction you got, and you need to replace it with something good. And at that point, I'd quit surfing, didn't have surfboards, anything, which like fuck, I can't even believe that I'd become that disconnected from like what had made me me and what I loved.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I just thought, yeah, I've tried everything. I'm gonna fucking die here soon. What do I have to lose? Maybe I need to stop listening to everyone in AA and all that stuff, and like saying like, "Hi, I'm Logan. I'm an alcoholic." Like, no, I'm not an alcoholic. I fucking can barely fucking take down a beer in an hour. Like, no, but just identify as that. I'm like, yeah, but I thought it's about just this is a program of honesty and urgency. Like I'm not being honest, kicking off my morning, introducing myself as an alcoholic. Some
Yeah.
people are okay with it. It's to each their own. But for me, that was not my problem. My problem are these fucking blue pills that fucking were synthetic heroin. So I decided like, hey, I'm gonna try and get back into surfing, and um, and I detoxed for 2 weeks at home. It's fucking miserable. It's like having the worst flu of your life. I mean, I would detox every few. I tried to quit for years. I couldn't. I could not fucking stop. But things were getting really bad. I got kicked out of my house. I was away from my kids and the whole deal. And I basically started surfing, and I started coming back to life. And I started getting healthy, and like fuck, I didn't look pale anymore, and I started putting on some weight. And like surfing's addicting too,
Mm.
So I literally like did I swapped out one addiction for the other. And the longer I started surfing, and I started surfing better, like and started feeling good about myself, and started feeling not embarrassed to be out in public and seeing people, and people were happy to see me looking healthier. And I just surfed my brains out for a couple months and just got super into it again. And it got to the point then where I'm like, fuck, this is the life I want. Like I want to. This is the drug I want. This is
Yeah.
this is me. I don't ever want to go back to that. But then I knew at that point too that like going surfing every day was not gonna fucking like it's not a career for me. I'm
Yeah.
not a pro surfer. Like I got to figure out what to do. And at that point, there was this whole thing going on with like, I think it was like Kai Neville said like independent surf films are dead because like just the way things were working at that time, it was all print media, and just a lot of people weren't making surf movies anymore. I think he had just got done with his last big project, and um, you know, it just seemed like surf movies at that point had just not come to a halt, but they definitely dropped off huge from when like you know, again, Jack McCoy and Matty Jai and Taylor Steele and all these guys are making, you know, movies. All of them weren't making movies anymore, and kind of was, you know, like not kicking out, but it sounded like he was done doing that, was going to get into the other ways of making money.
It
And
was it was simultaneous with like social media coming on where we were starting to get surf clips every day too. So we didn't need a movie necessarily.
yeah, so, and that was the crazy part about the timing. So I thought at that point, like, fuck, it might be dead, but fuck, I was pretty close to dead myself. I got nothing to lose by giving it a go, you know? So when I was 30 days off of fucking the Oxycontin, I fucking went to my buddy Joe Alani's house, who lives close. And I hadn't go over to anyone's house for years because I was just a fucking junkie. I was either high or strung out or dope sick. So I went over to the house. That's funny because I was just talking about this yesterday with Mason's fiance, and Mason was at the house getting ready to go to Durban, South Africa, for a QS. And I walk in the door, and I'd known Mason before, but we weren't real close. But like, you know, we're friends, and but not like great friends. I didn't have his phone number or anything. And I walked in the door, and the first thing he said to me is like, he's like, "So what? When are we gonna do Snapt 3?" And to me, I honestly was like pretty blown away because I was really down on myself from where I was at in life, and the fact that like Mason Ho even knew what Snapt was at that point. I was like, it meant a lot to me, but I thought he was just joking and trying to be cool, but still it was like a compliment, you know? And then he was like, "Nah, let's do Snapt 3 or whatever," you know? I'm like, "Oh, he probably says this shit to everybody, you know, whatever." And, and then I didn't see him after that. He went, and it was super cool to hang out with him. And I just kept surfing. And then a couple months later, I think at that point I had 6 months clean. And I was on the phone with Asher Pacey. I've been on the phone with Bobby. I was remembering what Mason said to me, and I was just thinking, "Fuck, no one's making surf movies right now. What do I have to lose?" You know. So I and then like I'd seen Bruce Irons, and he was doing good, and like I just felt like, hey, if I have like some of the older guys that were in my last movies, like Bobby, Bruce, and Asher, and then I have Mason and some of these new guys, it could be, you know, it could be something maybe. Um, and that's when I decided to make Snapt 3. And at the time, Instagram was mainly photos, images, or 10-second videos. So I'm talking to Asher, these guys, and half of them are sitting on all kinds of video content they didn't even know what to do with. That there was no one had to, like Mason didn't have a YouTube at the time. You know, that like guys were sitting on loads of stuff. All the print media didn't care about having video content. Everybody was still honing down on images and photography. So like it was just like this clear open lane where I was like, holy shit, I can't believe like we've already got fucking maybe, let's say, you know, 20% of the movie's already filmed and guys are just sitting on this stuff. I mean, Asher Pacey had this stuff from All Time Ponape that was, and it's just sitting on it. Like, other guys had stuff. And then, you know, then I came over to Hawaii, and met Jack Robinson, who I'm like, oh, I won't lie, I was a fan of his surfing off the bat. It reminded me of Andy and Bruce. And Jack was good friends with Mason, and I started hanging out with Jack, and I'm like, hey, I'm gonna make this movie. You want in? And Jack's like, I'm in. You know, and he was super psyched. And then I met the Monizes, and I wanted Josh and Seth in the movie, and things just kind of started snowballing, and it was tough because at that point I'm like 9 months clean, you know, and you know, I know it's just weird how sometimes people don't really want to see people don't sometimes unfortunately people don't want to see people succeed, you know. So like I had a lot of people like also writing me off, being like, he hasn't made a movie in 15 years. Let's see if he can even fucking stay off the fucking pills, you know. But every time I kept hearing that type of stuff, like with my personality, that just like motivates me. Like
Yeah.
I'm gonna make these fucking people eat their fucking words. I don't even care about the success of it. I'm gonna do this just to fucking make them eat their words, make them shut the fuck up, you know. And hopefully in the future they won't write off someone else. you know, it's the same thing. Like when I got clean off the pills on my own terms through surfing, not through a program or anything else. My brother was a drug and alcohol counselor, and he had told me, like, you either do it this way or you're gonna die. I want you to write a letter to your kids, and I'll read it at your funeral. And I just thought, all right, well, fuck, I'm not gonna get clean for myself. I'm gonna get clean to like teach you a fucking lesson. To like don't fucking like close off. It doesn't matter how you get clean or how you get your life back on track as long as you fucking do it. To me, it's about the outcome. It's not about like, you know, following
Yeah.
guidelines, you know. And I don't know, surfers in general aren't too good at following guidelines anyway. So I wanted to do my way. So like there was a lot of stuff too that happened throughout the making of Snapt 3 that was just super motivational, where I was just hell bent on like, I'm gonna fucking do this just to prove a lot of people wrong, you know? And I want to prove
Yeah.
to myself that I can still do it, even though it's been 15 years and the game's changed. And as the movie is being made, the towards the very end, that's when all of a sudden, like, I think like trans world had gone out, surfing had gone out, surfer was fucking barely, like, the print media thing was going down as I was making the movie, and then Instagram at the very end when Snapt 3 came out, that's when Instagram had extended for you to post longer videos. So I had just slid in on getting my hands on this video content before the whole video fucking like the melee like went off, you know, and it put me in a really good position. And at the same time too, like Mason really went to town, and like he really like got everybody behind it as far as like, hey, this movie's gonna be nuts. This is fucking old school. Like Logan knows what he's doing. Fucking like the premieres are gonna be crazy and all this stuff. And like Mason really believed in me. Like kind of at that time when I didn't believe in myself as much as he believed in me. And he got all these other guys to get behind it. And that's why I've always called him the quarterback, because he's helped run the ball up the field, and he's had my back, you know. And so like yesterday we were talking about like the first time that I seen him in that long, and he said like, hey, let's make Snapt 3, and I was like, sure dude, thanks for making me feel good, you know. But I mean, it's, you know, and now we're like we're like family. Like we're on the phone a couple times a day talking about personal stuff, and like his fiance is like my kids, like almost like their godmother. Like they come over here to Hawaii. I got my daughter here right now, and when they come here, she's just there with her the whole time, you know. So
Yeah.
like we you know, feel like family with Mason and some of the other guys. And Jack, been through a lot of stuff with Jack throughout all his up and downs and stuff, and whatnot. And yeah, it's special. So yeah, Snapt 3 went, and Snapt 3 like did its thing. And at that point I thought, okay, if I make Snapt 4 now, this time I don't have to convince anybody that I know what I'm doing. Like now I think I can do it. And then that's why, you know, I wanted to jump in and make Snapt 4. And then COVID hit, and that's when I came up with the whole concept of like secure the bag, as far as let's make this a contest. Because then at that point, keeping stuff off Instagram was getting to be impossible. So I
Yeah.
think we had to figure out a way to incentivize guys to put away their best shit so they could have the best part, and the best part would win this money. And
So explain that concept. What was the concept?
the concept was, I'm gonna raise money, and I'm gonna basically throw it on the table as a purse, and whoever has the best section is gonna win that money on the table. It started out, I called Mason. I called Mason. I told him about the idea. Fuck, he loved it, because fuck, he knew he'd have a chance at winning that money. I talked to Jack. He knew the same thing. They all loved it. They thought it was sick. Everyone seemed very eager to put away their best stuff, not just to have the best part in the movie, but with the bonus of potentially winning winning that money. So it started out at 40 grand. I knew I could raise 40 grand. And then when I nailed that deal with NC Soft, and I bumped it up to 60. And this is all through COVID, you know, as like everyone's furloughed and shit's going down and everything's going downhill, and like I'm still able to like keep getting these sponsors to come in, and eventually I'm like, fucking let's do 100K and just make it a fucking really big deal. And then that was how it is. And then I think I did it where it was 60,000 for first, 20,000 for second, and then there was 10,000 for third, and then it was 10,000 for the monster maneuver of the movie, and 10,000 for bonsai bowl barrel of the movie, and so there was some incentive there for guys to come in, and yeah, I think it was pretty special. Like, to make that movie through COVID was challenging, but at the same time, it was actually also like open field. Like Jack and these guys didn't have any CT events. Jack's stuck at home in WA, which is the only place that didn't go on lockdown during the best time of the whole year there. And his sponsors and everybody are on ice, like furloughing guys and not having a marketing budget. So I hired Tom Jennings and I put him on retainer to work with Jack throughout that whole time. We're still sitting on stuff from that time that no one's ever seen. We had a thing in Snapt5 where I decided with Jack, we're not going to use one box clip in your part because people have seen so much of you at the box. We're going to keep that out. So we have this stuff of him at the box. It's the best. Jack Robinson, Tom Jennings, and Tom Jennings, best in the business out there, and so like we have this stuff that no one's still ever seen from there that you'll probably see a clip or two in his Snapt5 part, because now Jack's moved to the Gold Coast and you don't see him.
Yeah.
In WA, you don't see him surfing the box anymore. So
who took the 60K?
Well, that's like the crazy story is Jack took the 60K. And I said, so I decided to have like Snapt alumni be the judges. So Mick Fanning, Bobby Martinez, and Taj Burrow were the three judges, which I thought also brought some element to the movie of like validation of like, hey, it's not like just some guys at like surfing or whatever.
Yeah.
So I had those guys judge, and actually the reality is Baron Mamiya won. But I had guidelines where it could be it had to be unseen clips.
That's right.
And Baron got injured, and he had a board sponsor change. He went on a boat trip for Snapt, and he ended up using the clips thinking that he was going to then like go to Sharp Eye and he was going to get even better stuff, but he ended up getting hurt, and he couldn't film for a majority of the thing. So when it got down to the very end, I met with him and his manager, Sean Ward, and I said, look, like, you have two options. You either can use the same stuff, well, obviously with some other stuff that hasn't been seen, and have the best Baron Mamiya section, that people have ever seen, and showcase your surfing at the highest level. But it's not going to fucking qualify. Like, it's not going to qualify for the money because it's, it didn't stick to the guidelines that everybody else, right? Or you can make another part with stuff that's been unseen, and it's not going to be the strongest, best Baron Mamiya section. It's not going to showcase you at your best, and that's definitely not going to win the money. So, like, they decided all right there on the spot, like, fuck that, let's just make the best section ever, because if we don't make the best one, it's not going to win the money anyways. And I think at that point too, Baron is still coming up, and I don't think he thought he was going to win anyways. But when he showed me his section, and the song and everything, I was just like, holy shit, this is insane. And sure enough, like, I know Bobby gave him a 10. Bobby had never heard of him. And then I think Taj too might have given him a 9 or something. And yeah, Mick had him in, like, Mick had a 6-way first place tie, like, where he had 6 guys with the same high score. So I was like, fuck, Mick, you didn't really fucking like help on that end, dude. You can't have a 6-way tie with first. Like, you're supposed to pick who had the best, second best, third,
Yeah.
But so Baron actually won, but he wasn't eligible for the money. And he knew that going into it. But then it became like kind of this controversial thing. But anyone behind closed doors, like, from Baron to his manager, knows, like, we met in person and we discussed it before it happened and whatnot. And I always explain to people too, that, like, what if Jack grabbed a couple of his clips from the Vulcan movie that had come out that year, or Mason ran some of his stuff from the Rip Curl search trip that had been seen. Like, what if they had grabbed other stuff and put in theirs? What did their part look like?
Right.
So
Totally.
it's my job to like keep the integrity of a project that has guidelines like that, and at the end of the day too, like, if guys didn't stick to the guidelines and I told them you got to change stuff and they didn't, then they were removed from the movie. Like,
Well,
there's a lot that goes
how do
on
you
behind the scenes of this shit.
how do you keep um, people from using their clips currently for Snapt 5 for the next film?
That's why this is the last one, um, because it's like ongoing torture. It's consuming. It's gnarly. I mean, like the gnarly guys that get it, they know the lifespan of a movie is gonna outlast anything they put out on Instagram or YouTube. Like, I was talking about it the other day with Parker and a bunch of these guys out here, because everybody's getting really excited about the movie and their sections and the enthusiasm and the project together, and because it is a cohesive project. um, it's teamwork, and at the end of the day, like, look, an Instagram post, it's no matter how good it is, it's going to last a day or two at max, right? A YouTube edit is going to last, let's say, a week at best. But if you make a really good surf movie and they're really strong surf sections, like, let's be honest, guys to this day go back and they're still watching Andy Iron sections. They're watching Taj's sections. They're watching Slater's sections, you know?
Yeah,
And I think that's the incentive, and they know this is the last one. So I think, everyone wants to go out with a bang and make this movie super special and have it to be where, the movie lasts a lot longer than we do here on Earth, and hopefully kids 20 years from now will be wanting to watch Mason Ho's highlight reels, because that's what these sections are. They're like 3-year highlight reels,
right.
you know. Um, so
Is is there a way to make money on a surf film in 2025?
if you fish in the right pond,
Okay.
and if you
So
throw
basically getting
if you,
sponsors.
and if you throw big premieres and you charge at the door, like you charge, like I did, like, I mean, we sold close, I think around 3,000 tickets. I don't know with comps and stuff. Maybe let's say 2,800 tickets at $25 a ticket, and then I work out with the venue where I get a piece of the bar tab, and there's parking, and there's ways to make money. You just have to obviously think outside the box, and that's where the Mickey Avalon thing really came in handy, because that's what I did for a couple of years, was through concerts, and I know, there's several ways you can make additional money, throwing events.
Gotcha. So
Whether
it's live event is the model.
live events, the model, and a lot of the premieres that we'll have, they'll be free, but the world premieres is different. Like, I have Andre Nicotina come out, and we have live performances, and we really try to make it a big thing. And yeah, there's definitely a lot of ways to make good money. I mean, it can make six figures that night, easy.
Okay. Good for you. Do you have a date set for when the film will be finished and
Yeah,
premiere?
I'm not announcing it here. I do have a date. It's been locked in about 10 days to 2 weeks ago. I have the venue, have everything ready. All I can say right now, is that it's going to be midsummer
Okay, cool.
25. Yep, and it'll be in my backyard.
Okay. Well, I'll commend you. You've done a phenomenal job of showcasing content constantly on the Instagram account without spilling the beans or like giving up the A clips. And the content that ends up on Instagram is still a quality, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and a lot of the stuff too. Some of the clips are older. Some of the clips got ran in their edits. Like, some of the clips are filmed off the screen. Like, uh, but yeah. I mean, that's the cool thing about doing this myself. I have no partners. The guys in the movie are the closest thing I have to a partner. I run a lot of stuff by them, especially Mason's basically like a co-producer of Snap, because he's been such a huge part of it from when I like kind of resurrected it, back in 2016 when the movie came out in 2017. So, and Mason's a savvy business guy too. Like, he might look like Mr. Cruisy, this and that, but like, he means business, and he's super smart and creative. Like what he does with his YouTube and all that stuff. But yeah, at the end of the day, um, I take a lot on and it consumes me. Because I just actually like separated. I've been with my kid's mom for 17 years, and it's so consuming, and it takes away from the family and whatnot, that like just between the movie and me trying to be a good dad, there's not time left for me to be Mr. Romantic and be in a relationship and that stuff. So like she hates Snapped and all that stuff. So I moved out because I'm not letting anyone get in the way of what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I pretty much lived, eat, breathe, and sleep, surfing and these movies, and people don't understand probably how much time or how consuming this is for me, because making this movie with like the battle with social media and the content and everything, because let's be honest, right now content's more valuable than ever with social media. Every
Yeah.
sponsor, every media outlet, everybody wants one thing, and that's video content. and uh,
Yeah.
and I don't have these guys under contract. I'm not paying them. Like there is no purse for Snapt5.
Right.
You know. But so like I
Well,
just
the Instagram account, I was saying you've done a good job like showing us stuff without showing us what's going to end up in the film. But
yeah
in the meantime, the Instagram account has kind of become the premier spot for surf content on Instagram. Like,
it's
sure, Mason posts his clips, Jack posts his clips, but if you want just like a cross section of everything and every post is going to be high quality, that's the account.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like there's a lot of people telling me that, and I know like okay. So when we started Snap 4, we're at 5,000 followers. We're at 110,000 followers now. But like the engagement on the thing is like is mind blowing, because I was talking about with Parker, the other day, and people are like, dude, I think you have like the second or third most, engagement like surfing Instagram going on right now. Even though like you don't have the most amount of followers, like Surfer has 2.2 million, but if you look at their engagement, it's not on par with their numbers. To me, so it's not really about the followers; it's about how many people are on the Instagram page and the engagement. And this month alone, I think we've had 2.4 million on the Instagram thing, and I'm blown away because I just run this shit by myself and I just post whatever I feel like. And I take a lot of like pride in what I do, and I love it. And yeah, I just think at the end of the day, I think it's authentic, because like I really do this. Like, let's be honest, I'm not going to get rich by making surf movies, but it saved my life. Surfing saved my life, and I surf every day, and I'm just super passionate about it. And I think, and the way I work with these guys and try to get behind them, and like even, the way I've helped out guys like Clay Marzo, or how I'm right now trying to help out Mateus Hurdy, or these guys. I feel like it's real, it's authentic, and I feel like people get that, and it translates on the platform. And so I think there's like I feel like it's being embraced right now,
Yeah.
because I'm not a company, I'm not a
Yeah.
corporation, I'm just a guy that loves surfing, and I believe in all the guys in the movie. And I don't know. I feel like it's just translating well, because at the end of the day, like, well, what I'm doing is real. Like I care about it enough to where, I do anything to help these guys. I do anything that, keep kind of the like older, like traditional way of surfing. Like the Herbie Fletcher stuff, the momentum stuff, like that stuff is kind of like a dying or lost breed. And I feel like I have a chance to still like throw a glimpse of that into the surf culture right now. That's just going down the drain with the industry, as far as these companies being licensed out and sold, and seeing
Yeah.
such special brands just be fucking recycled and trashed. And and then you see other people. I see guys that are fucking like paintballers from LA come down with deep pockets trying to buy their way into everything. I'm not going to say names, but like I see a lot of just phony shit go on, and just stuff that doesn't have the better, like a lot of integrity, and really like the right demeanor for what's good for our surf industry, our surf culture, you know.
Yeah.
think that that's it's I feel like it's dying out, because
Yeah.
suit and tie guys get their hands on it, or other people that want to come in and just pay their way in and kind of culture vulture things. It's tough to see. It's tough to watch, So that just kind of motivates me more to try to push this movie and have it be as good as it can be, and just get because I make the movies so that you can watch them before you go surf. I just want people to get excited to go surf, and
Yeah.
that's really, there's no storyline behind Snapt. There never has been, aside from some fuck around shit with Salmon Boy as a joke to kind of lighten things up a bit. The
Yeah.
movie's just made to watch before you go surf to get psyched. And
What can you think of the best surfing that you've ever witnessed in person?
I mean, uh, Andy for sure at River Jetties, like Andy and Taj, they would come during the U.S. Open or when there was the CT in Huntington, and they would come and kind of just without running mock heats, they'd be out there together, and that was just mind blowing, to be honest. Like I see guys like I've had a lot of guys come, Mason or Jack, come stay at the house, and so sick to watch those guys surf. But watching Andy and Taj like in their prime battling in at my home spot in my backyard, and those guys, I mean, you know, Taj and Andy have both won Huntington multiple times, but to see them like warming up for that stuff and what they're able to do, definitely not in the best waves, but like to me, that's the best surfing I've ever seen, considering what it was.
Amazing. Yeah, I've gone back recently and watched the Andy sections in Snapped 1 and 2, and a lot of it is in Southern California,
Yeah, yeah,
the lowers footage and stuff, and it's still mind blowing.
yeah. No, it's crazy. And some of the shit I seen there were no cameras because before I made Snap 1 and 2, yeah, some of the surfing I saw there was fucking incredible. Like
It's really
how how
it's
good how good they were, and then too, again, like River Jays are. I always tell these guys, and that's like when back. It's funny too because I remember like with Jack, he had a lot of critics saying like, "Fuck, he's not going to qualify. He's not good in small waves, not this." And I told Jack like, "Hey, just come to River Jetties, come stay at the pad, get a bunch of boards, and just fucking grovel." And then and I remember like that week watching him, and it was really bad, really small, and I could see every day like, fuck, this kid will be good at whatever he fucking wants to. If they tell him he's got a weakness, that's the worst thing that they did. Is like say, okay, same thing with the pool. Everyone says like Jack can't surf the pool, Jack's not good in the pool, or he's only big wave guy or can do airs, or anytime they tell him that he can't do anything, he's got a weakness. He's so self-disciplined, then that's all he's going to go focus on to improve that aspect of his surfing, and that now he doesn't have a weakness. I
yeah.
mean, he just got a semi, he just got a third at the pool. You
Yep.
know, that was kind of the last thing that like, oh, people, Jack can't grovel, he can't. It's like Jack learned to grovel. I mean,
Yeah.
he's won a lot of those CTs in fucking not the best fucking conditions.
Yep.
Um, even when he won pipe, it wasn't good pipe. When he won G-Lan, it was small, and he took out Gabriel, and he took out Philippe. I mean, to beat Iago in a pool is fucking not easy. So that was just a couple hours ago, but Jack getting third in Dubai is a fucking keeper.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy to see all that stuff and evolve firsthand and to witness it is really really special.
What are you going to do after Snap 5?
I've got some other projects and stuff that are going to be still surf related. It's not like I'm going to walk off into the sunset, and Snap's still going to be around. But when I say this about this being the last one, is I won't be doing like 3-year projects where I'm having these guys save their best stuff, and it's just this ongoing thing. Because I think if I'm having 15 guys in the movie and I'm working with, let's say each of them have their own filmer, plus there's additional filmers and everything, like it's a lot of work. It's really consuming, and it's almost like becoming just too much, considering these guys have to put stuff out for their sponsors. They have to submit content for their sponsors. They're in contract to do that. Back in the day, it was like, hey, you put a sticker on your board, you wear the product, that's it. Now these companies in the contract, they want that content, and I don't want to be in the way of that. Not for 3 years to have, Mason Ho or Jack Robinson or Noah Dean or these guys in the movie. It's like to have them putting away their best shit for me. Is fucking huge. So that's why I really try to go above and beyond from my end, because I really appreciate the fact that like they want to do this and they want this movie to be special and whatnot. And yeah, I usually do around like 19-20 hour days. I'm up till at least midnight, 1 in the morning, and then I'm up at 5. And because somewhere's always just getting started, in West Oz or in Oz or in Indonesia or in those places, like it's morning time there when it's time to wrap things up here. So like somewhere's always open. There's always more that can get done. There's always filmers that are sitting on some clips that just got them. Like someone's always on a trip. I mean, right now we've had guys on tons of trips at the same time. Victor Bernardo and Asher Pacer in Morocco, and Aton's in one part of Europe, and Noah Dean's in another part of Europe, and then all this shit's going on in here in Hawaii, and it's pumping, and it's like fuck. There's always shit that can get done. So sometimes. A lot of time, if I wake up at 4 in the morning, like fuck, someone's like it's different time zone then, and there's a lot of stuff that can get handled, and that's not do it by myself. I really try to just go above and beyond to where when these guys see that I'm on the phone with them and it's, let's say, 4 in the morning or 3:30 in the morning, they know how much like time, energy, and passion I'm putting into this, and that motivates them to go even harder for the movie. So
Yeah,
it's been good. It's been
good. Well, man, I can't wait to see it.
It's
exciting.
There's no pressure.
Yeah.
Before the movies, like I said, 1 and 2 was underground. 3, no one thought I would even fucking make it or be alive. And then 4, I feel like, is when the expectations and Snapt started to really grow. And then now at this point, like, I've never like kind of been under, I wouldn't say pressure, but the expectations of the movie, not just from the general public or crowd, but like that I have on myself now, where I'm like, fuck, Snap's way bigger than I ever thought it would be, and maybe bigger than I ever wanted it to be. And I got to fucking deliver here. And these guys have gone to town, but I can tell you, like, guys have been working so hard, and they're sitting on some serious, gnarly fucking stuff that they put away, and they've been filming, and the deadlines are coming up, and this is the fourth quarter when everybody just goes extra hard, and having all these guys here right now at the same time, and they're seeing each other's stuff. It's just like the energy and the enthusiasm is just building.
Yeah, I have full faith. You're not going to fumble the ball.
No,
it's going to be good.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So yeah, I just head down and just all the way to the finish line. And
Awesome.
And then hopefully it's going to speak for itself. If it's fucking good, it's good. But again, like I told you earlier, 9s and 10s only is the goal. And if the movie has only 9s and 10s, and I do a good job with the music end, then it should position itself to hopefully be a movie that people would rate in the 9 or 10 section. So
yeah, awesome. Well, dude, thank you for sharing so much. And again, you deserve a round of applause for your work bringing down those bandits. So
yeah,
well done.
Right. Yeah, it's good to have those guys fucking not being able to continue what they're doing, because fuck, they did some fucking damage, not just to me, but man, to hear what they were doing to so many people is fucked up. And surfing's like a tribe, brotherhood, whatever, community, and fuck, I don't think any surfer, they might fight over waves, but I think we'd all agree we don't want to see each other being robbed by these fucking guys. So yeah, it feels good to have them fucking locked up.
But your story's a great PSA. So thanks for sharing it.
Right on. Well, thank you. I'm super psyched on your podcast, and fucking enjoy watching all the episodes. And yeah, you keep killing it.
Thank you.
Surfing needs these kind of podcasts. So keep telling these stories and have have some authentic, like, good conversations. And yeah, it's been rad watching to see your podcast continue to grow.
Yeah, thanks. I'm glad just to sit here and listen, because I'm really not trying to edit anything. It's just let people tell their own stories is the idea. Get out of the way of interesting people, you know?
Yeah. Well, you're doing a good job of that. So
Yeah.
keep it up. And thank you for having me as a guest. I appreciate it.
All right, man. Thanks. Enjoy Hawaii too.
Okay. Yeah, we will. We're gonna get out there.
All
Hopefully
right.
I don't drown. All right.
Yeah. Good luck.
Serve Splendor.